What survival myth is completely wrong and can get you killed?
Running in a zigzag to outrun an alligator. Alligators don't run for long distances, so this will probably just waste your energy. They can also climb some fences and trees as well.
Just run straight. No question, just book it. The alligator will eventually decide it's had enough.
That bullpoo, change your voicemail if you are lost PSA that was making the rounds over the last year. You need a cell signal to change your voicemail. If you have a signal, then why wouldn't you just *** call for help? Moreover, it misses the most important thing about US cell phones and being lost. 911 will work on any cell tower regardless if it's in network, or even if you have an active phone plan or not. So in an emergency, always try dialing 911 regardless of your phone appears to have signal or not.
Greater than us cell phones and being lost, 911 will work on any cell tower. This also works in Europe and most likely a lot more countries. Just make sure you know the local emergency number. Emergency calls are top priority. If a cell tower is at capacity and your phone pings for an emergency call, the tower will drop other phones to make your call come through. As always, emergency calls are always free.
If you're in a tornado, open all your windows to equalize the pressure inside to match the outside. If you're in a tornado, opening any window or door will create a wind tunnel that rips your entire roof off.
If I recall correctly, it doesn't matter anyway, you waste time doing that when you need to get to the lowest part of a building and or the innermost room. Cracks and small openings take care of air pressure as buildings aren't airtight. Overpasses are not safe places to shelter. In fact, they're more dangerous. They create wind tunnels. Average lead time for tornado warnings in the US is 9 minutes, but people still don't take them seriously. The most common refrain I've read from people who survived the Joplin tornado is that they didn't take the warnings seriously. Even with a tornado watch, they didn't pay attention to the weather.
That moss grows on the north side of a tree. It can grow all over the tree, so it's not a steadfast rule that you should make important decisions solely on.
I grew up in the rainy PNW, and when I heard this as a little kid, I looked at all the moss on every side of the trees and thought that I must just live in the most north place lol. Edit, I swear if I read another comment about how it would actually be the most south place, I might lose my dang mind more than it's already been lost.
Drinking water from a cactus. If absolutely needed for survival, you could get some water out of a fishhook barrel cactus, but only in limited amounts. Most cactuses have various acids and other fun things in the water that will make you poo yourself to death. Dehydration in the desert isn't a laughing matter, and you don't want to lose the precious bit of water left in your body to the desert ground.
The desert is hot and little clothing is best. Cover up during both the day and the night. The sun will burn you and dehydrate you very quickly. During the night, it's really common for people to die of hypothermia because the temperature drops so fast. And honestly, living here, during the winter it gets to the low 20s pretty often. And the wind is awful. Edit to add, it's dry heat here. There's no moisture in the air majority of the year. You can drop dead from heat stroke, barely sweating.
Almost anything related to avalanches. Here are a few popular and false myths. Asterisk that they strike at random. Most avalanches that injure or kill people are caused by those people, and they always show signs of instability, if you are paying attention. The problem is that there are lots of false positives. Where the signs are there, the instability is there, but people just don't quite manage to trigger them. Asterisk that you should be quiet to be safe from avalanches, because they are caused by sound. Sound does not trigger avalanches. Even very loud sounds are nowhere near enough. Avalanche control is done with howitzers and dynamite charges. Asterisk that you can get out of the way. Well, sure. Of course sometimes it's possible. But they can travel up to 60 miles per hour, and they can let loose across an entire slope all at once. By the time it slides, you are likely in it, and it's inescapable. Asterisk that you can save yourself by swimming. Maybe for very small ones, but usually you're just being thrashed. I've heard it compared to being in a side-loading washing machine. Asterisk that you can spit to tell which direction is up. You won't be able to see anything useful, and, you know, gravity still works. But it's irrelevant because that relies on the next myth. Asterisk that you can dig yourself out. Even if you are inches below the surface, it's very unlikely. The snow sets up very hard, very fast. As thought you got caught up in a snow plow clearing a parking lot after a big snowstorm. People caught in avalanches report not being able to move their fingers. Along with that are all the normal problems people have with low probability, high consequence risks, that "it won't happen to me" stuff. But that's not so much an issue of myths as poor judgment due to things like familiarity with a slope, desire to be accepted by a social group by skiing that rad backcountry line, feeling committed because you came all this way, deferring to someone you perceive as an expert, desire to get the first tracks after a storm, social proof, where you see others doing it, so it must be safe, etc.
Reading this made me panic, thinking of being trapped, probably upside down, in the snow and not being able to even use my fingers to dig myself out. So how do you survive? Or do you just not?
If a shark is coming after you, swim away. If a shark is coming towards you in the first place, it's most likely just curious and wants to check you out. Swimming away and thrashing about will further intrigue it to keep following you. Instead, redirect it by running your hand along its side and carefully positioning it to swim away from you. Side note, if one happens to bite you, poke, stab it in the eyes or pull on its gills instead of bopping it in the nose. Gills and eyes are far more sensitive than a shark's nose. Edit. Loads of replies about how punching underwater is practically impossible, and you'd be 100% right. Fixed.
Shark. Oh hey, what's t-shove asterisk alright, I see how it is.
Follow flying birds to find water. They can simply be flying to spend a night anywhere, so we can't rely on them.
Colorado is landlocked and dry as F and barely has any water beyond a handful of man-made reservoirs. There are seagulls here. Don't listen to birds.
Concerning frostbite, do not rub someone's frostbitten skin or pour hot water on it to warm them up. Such measures will damage the skin even more severely.
The fastest and safest method for warming up someone is direct animal heat, i.e. letting them put their frosty skin next to yours. Hey, if you can keep your digits by putting a cold hand on my belly, be my guest.
Lightning never strikes twice in the same place. If lightning has found a path that it likes to the ground, it's extremely likely to strike there multiple times. That's why lightning rods work.
If you're in a hot area, don't ration your water, drink when you feel thirsty and search for more water. Edit. The myth to be avoided is rationing your water. Don't ration.
Ration sweat, not water. Thank you USAF Survival School. Edit. Wow, this blew up lol. At SEER School they teach you to find shade and try to do as little as possible during the hotter times of the day. If you have to move, you do so when it cools off. Rationing your water doesn't help you, it will only dehydrate you and impair your judgment. Your brain needs water. Depriving yourself of proper hydration is the best way to unintentionally kill yourself.
Conserving water. You should not stretch a glass of water over 4 days. When you are thirsty, you need water.
I've heard people die of dehydration while still having water because they tried to conserve it.
If your plane is crashing, an inflatable raft makes a terrible parachute.
And yet, I'd still grab the raft if my options are raft or nothing. At least that way I'll die a captain.
Just because water looks clean doesn't mean it is. You've got to boil it or distill it to actually have clean water.
Or carry a modern filter like a Life Straw or Sawyer if you think there's even a remote chance you're going to be stranded with no potable water. I'll also add that drinking dirty water is always a better option than going without water. If you are dehydrated but don't have a way to sanitize your water, drink the water anyway. There's a chance it will make you sick or maybe even kill you in very rare cases, but dehydration will always kill you.
Most of the stuff Bear Grylls does, like eating raw meat, picking and eating fruit out of bear poo, or squeezing the juice out of elephant poo and drinking it.
Or even just running as fast as you can and sliding down embankments like he does. My favorite Bear Grylls navigation moment was when he decided he didn't want to try to get over a mountain pass, and noticed a cave, then figured it would certainly go through the mountain, and went in with a makeshift torch, swam through a fully submerged channel extinguishing his torch, and then made it through to the other side.
You cannot eat everything that an animal can eat. There are things animals can eat that humans find toxic, so eating everything you see animals eating can lead to you potentially eating deadly berries or mushrooms.
Yeah, and it goes both ways. Humans can eat stuff like chocolate and GRPS, and other animals can't eat chocolate, and I know dogs definitely can't eat GRPS. Pulling out something that is impaling you.
The rule is, if it's in, keep it in, if it's out, keep it out. Until you can get help.
Drinking alcohol when you are freezing will keep you warm, it won't, it will bring on hypothermia much sooner.
Agreed, but you will feel warmer *, so if you're going to die anyway, it may be a better way to go out.
Split to cover more ground.
That's a killer's wet dream.
You can drink water from a cactus. Any liquid inside a cactus will be highly acidic and likely to cause nausea and diarrhea, further dehydrating you.
The notable exceptions to this rule are the prickly pear and one species of barrel cactus, the fishhook barrel, Pherocactus whislerzini. While both of these plants are fairly unpleasant to eat raw, they have less concentrated levels of the detrimental chemicals and could give you a bit of hydration in a pinch.
You can survive a moose attack. That's it, that's the myth, because no UFing can't. Edit. Holy baloney, this my most upvoted comment on Reddit. Well, at least 5,000 people are smart enough to know that moose are a national and galactic threat. Cheers, lads, lassies and laser people.
I walked between a mama and baby moose in Alaska once by accident. That's something you never want to do. I was walking my dog and all I heard was a pounding noise and I turned and was being charged by the mama moose. I jumped behind the closest tree and played ring around the tree for a couple minutes. The snow was pretty deep and I was hoping I wouldn't trip and be stomped to death. My dog was about 15 months old and he had hightailed it out to the middle of the lake and had his tail between his legs, shaking. A couple years later my parents were on a walk with the same dog and my dad got charged by a moose in a similar way. He jumped off the trail but immediately got stuck in the deep snow and figured he was about to be a dead man. That dog came running up and was biting and growling at the moose's face and chased it up the trail. Maybe he remembered moose equals bad? Edit, dog tax pictures. Link.
That you'll be totally safe if you only eat plants, fungi you recognize. Hemlock looks a lot like wild parsnips. Basically all wild almonds will kill you if you eat more than one. And of course there's the Chris McCandless potato seed thing.
That you can give somebody CPR and they'll be fine moments later like nothing happened.
Am medic. Can confirm. Most likely, they will die. ETA, a lot of people are commenting that someone is already dead if we're doing CPR. But that depends on your definition of dead. The line is blurred more and more. Not every cardiac arrest has no rhythm. Some have one but they're not useful for pumping blood. Some have none at all. Is brain death dead? Then no, not all cardiac arrests are dead. Is it when the heart ceases to beat effectively? Then yes, they all are.
Stand in a doorway in an earthquake.
Live in an earthquake-prone area. The doorway will collapse. You'd have better luck with the coffee table.
If you get lost in the desert, do not ration your water. You don't know how long you'll be there, and if you ration you'll dehydrate yourself faster. Use the water to keep you in shape for a little longer, which in turn can help you mentally. I read this somewhere which also mentioned that many people found dead in the desert still have a full canteen of water because they tried to ration it. Apologies for no source. After hearing comments about it I looked this up to see if it was actually true, given that it's just a random fact I remembered from somewhere. Off-Grid Web explains in more detail why rationing water isn't the best idea. Link. However, I have seen some people say that you could ration water, but to an extent. Which does make sense, there is a balance to it, but I wrote this when I was tired and didn't really think it through. Hopefully this link can clear up some things. Edited for spelling and provided a source.
Drinking your own piss. People who survive do so despite drinking the wee-wee. But it sure is fun, though.
It's sterile and I like the taste.
Myth. The rubber tires on a vehicle will insulate you from ground and protect you from lightning. Lightning doesn't stop for 2 inches of rubber, though the car will act like a Faraday cage and protect you from the electrical current unless you're in a convertible, a motorbike or any other vehicle that doesn't cover you in all directions. Also, don't lay down on the ground during a thunderstorm. You increase the risk of being shocked by a ground current, which can be pretty dangerous. Another thing, don't take shelter under a tree or a gazebo. They can explode or light on fire when struck.
The first mistake in wilderness is to look for food and water first before having a shelter up to keep yourself dry and warm. Also, if you have to forage for food, avoid mushrooms entirely. Odds are so slim you will find an edible kind that you're much better off looking for things like nuts, seeds, and berries. People say that herbivores animals are friendly and peaceful, so you are safe being around them. Seriously, everything from cows to deer can and will kill you if you make it angry. It is usually a good idea if you are in the wilds not to get near any large wild animal, but herbivores can often be even more aggressive than the predators. If a predator attacks you, you have a fairly good chance of scaring it off, especially if it's smaller than you, because it's likely only looking for food. If a herbivore attacks you, you're F-ed because it genuinely wants to kill you.
Yes, predators have to conserve their energy for a hunt, so they pick and choose their fights. With herbivores, on the other hand, it pays to be a paranoid xenophobe.
If a nuclear bomb is exploding in your general vicinity, hiding in a refrigerator will not save you.
Hiding in water might though. Jump in a lake.
Anyone else read these comments with intrigue, imaging yourself in said situation only to remember you haven't left the house in a long time and likely will never find yourself in these scenarios? 'Cause that's me.
Survival tip number 1, avoid the situation.
You don't have to wait 24 hours to report somebody as missing to the police.
My brother was going through a rough time and I hadn't seen him for a day. The local cops wouldn't take the report. He hasn't been missing long enough.
Hit a snake fast with a shovel, or kill it by snapping it. If it bites you, suck the poison out or use a tourniquet. No, FFS. Australians are constantly bewildered by every other country's madcap insanity around this. We live with deadly snakes. Why do people do these things? And #X200B. 1. Do not mess with the snake. Just leave it bloody alone. Magically, you don't get bitten. 2. If you messed with the snake, see point 1, we told you not to mess with it. Call an ambulance. Use a broad pressure bandage to immobilize the whole limb, never ever tourniquet a snake bite. You are reducing the natural lymph movement through broadly spread pressure, not trying to give them gangrene. The victim must not move unless being carried. Don't touch your damn mouth to the wound. Don't wash it. Just freaking stop. Immobilize, write the time of the bite and circle the location on the outside of the bandage, and wait for professional help. If you have to choose between walking or waiting if you are a long way from help, you wait. You are more likely to survive by not moving at all. Please, for love of God, just leave it alone. We have vastly more venomous snakes than a mere rattler, and we die vastly less often because we do not mess with the spicy danger noodle.
Thank you for watching. We upload new videos every day, so be sure to come back for more fun. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed the video.